Yes, it's finally happened once again. Aishwarya Rai Bachchan in the house with us, and wow, thank you so much for joining me.
Pleasure, pleasure, pleasure.
And you know, it's exciting to have you back. But I have to say one thing. One thing you stayed away from, and I know you probably don't have the time now, social media. The world wants to get on it. The world wants to find out what the world thinks of them, what they think of the world, to put their voice out there. Have you never ever been intrigued in your own house?
No.
Mr. Bachchan is 24/7 on it, and I love him for that. He's like, you know, in the night, if you don't want to read a newspaper, it's Mr. Bachchan. So, have you never felt intrigued?
Of course. I mean, and I'd like to reiterate this very, very strongly through you with everybody. I am very intrigued, fascinated, believe in the strength, the potential, the reach, the immense opportunity that social media offers. So don't get me wrong, I'm not some archaic dinosaur here who wants to live in the Stone Age and not keeping up with the times.
Yeah.
I believe in it.
Yeah.
Very honestly, when it first began, which is not so long ago, but obviously it's gone through the stratosphere now.
Yeah, yeah.
So when it just began, I have a thing with not just wanting to be different. I actually am a very, integrity means a lot to me,
Yeah.
very honestly. And when it first started and was all the rage, one, it was immediately all the rage.
Yeah.
So I'm like, why get on something just because you want to kind of belong, which I've never been like that.
True.
I've never been about just embracing trends.
You've actually been ahead of the
jumping
curve
on.
most of the time.
Well, I'd like to think
Yeah.
so, but possibly now being perceived as way behind. But in
Yeah.
that sense, my attitude really stems from there, about wanting to not get onto any rat race, not jump on just because you want to prove you're cool. You're not cool by proving a point. You don't need to do what everybody is doing. You don't need to be holding that it bag or the latest thing. Just, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I'm not cheeky, and I'm not in that sense about all these things and about trends just jumping on because I can fan perception of the cool quotient. So these were my little things. And then a very, very important factor, because in fact also stemming from the fact that we're all members of a family that belong to this turf, what was immediately happening at the beginning was it was becoming a barometer of popularity. It was becoming
yeah.
all about who
Still
has how
is.
many likes. It's
Yeah.
kind of eased up because now everybody's on it, and somehow that's not the focal point. But initially, that was all what the conversation was about.
Yeah.
Who's raking up how many followers, which equals to who's really the coolest, who's the most popular, thereby what makes you the happening artist.
Number
and
one
so
to
on,
number
so on.
10.
Yeah. Now, very honestly, I have no insecurities about the immense strength that my well-wishers have given me, and I thank you all for it.
Yeah.
Frankly, I dare be perceived now vain, but I was very, very secure about how that would rate.
Yeah.
So no insecurities at all, but I didn't want to play into it because I was like, that's what people are playing into.
Do you
and that's
peek in
sad.
sometimes?
That's it, huh?
Do you peek in?
Completely,
Yeah?
of
Okay.
course, of course. So initially, that was the reason. After that, life took over.
Yeah, of course.
And just, has been, commitments have been so in the direction of balancing new motherhood and working simultaneously, so consuming that I of course could not put out all, and I would have ended up gushing only about all my personal stuff, which could not immediately go out
Which
there
would have
on
made the
air.
world go crazy, by the
But
way.
I couldn't put all that out on air, which would be kind of, then what? Next will be like you're commercializing your personal life, blah, blah, blah. So it's all a fine line. It goes both ways. It can make people very happy. At the same time, people can be like, why are you putting out all that stuff?
Yeah.
So it's all open to discussion. So why? But if and when the needs be, or if and when I can give more time to it, I'd definitely be happy to come on board. But not just to prove a point of, hey, please believe I'm cool, so I'll be on all the platforms. No, there's no dependency like
That is why I've missed you on a platform, on a public platform, because, you've always spoken your mind. And, I know sometimes people have thought differently, but I've always felt you have spoken your mind, been very articulate with what you've said always. And it's always refreshing because you don't have anything to prove anymore. And you never did, actually. And so when you do come back, does that make it easier to do a film again when there's really nothing left to prove?
I would like to think so. It's all about the attitude. I think it's important to keep yourself liberated. That's true liberty. That's truly being empowered, and that's truly, feeling strong, secure in your own skin. I've always been like that, and you're right to recognize that. It's not about today, do I have any point to prove, or have I done enough work, not done it. There's no end to the kind of work you have to do. While on one level it might seem like you've done a lot, you've not even touched the tip of the iceberg. I mean, there's so much to do. There's so much in this world. You'll realize there's so many things you have not yet done. And now, possibly because enriched by a lot more experience of life, you feel, oh my God, that was also amateur. There's so much truth again you can bring to possibly the same characters or new ones.
Of course,
so that's a constant learning. That's a constant hunger to contribute to the medium.
So was this a very thinking Aishwarya Rai Bachchan on Jazbaa? Was there a lot more thinking? And one very famous director told me, he said, actors shouldn't be very intelligent. It messes things up for the director. You know, if you go by that path, that's fine. Before you come on the set, it's fine. But do you think that this new you, you know, had a lot more thought that went into it earlier?
The new me is the old me. I've always had a lot to share. As you can see, I'm actually very talkative. And I'll actually have an opinion and a thought about everything. But I'm very, very thankful to the directors I've worked with. I mean, even people seemingly intimidating to a lot of, say, newcomers or joining the turf, or because of perception, they have always given me the freedom to express and share, and I completely embrace that freedom. I happily share my opinions and views, and very openly I'm ready for it to be embraced or set aside, but share I will, because that just makes my time and my experience of being there on set that much
more worthwhile, of course.
more worthwhile, and it's freeing. I mean, I think if you're carrying a certain thought and you don't express it and don't share it, it is going to weigh in on whatever you're doing. And as an artist, you need to be free of anything. You need to be that clean slate. So if you have something to share, share it, get it out, clean it, and then address it. So that's important. So I've always been one to actually share all my thoughts and viewpoints.
When I was young, I used to love lawyer films, one with Tom Cruise in it, and you know, the John Grisham novels and all that. Do you enjoy that, the realism that is there in cinema now in India, where you can actually play a real, and not just, oh my lord, you know, as we used to have 15 years ago?
You know, that's what me and Sanjay, in fact, and we were all talking on set, that you're so not to take the mickey of the kind of cinema, because it's enjoyed its popularity, and people completely enjoyed the drama of it. For whatever reasons, people found their voice through the medium, needed that to kind of actually give vent. Social media didn't exist. So I guess through that people could, you know, feel vicariously. They were sharing a lot of their comments and opinions on whatever was socially happening. But I've always said that, like music, when we discuss music, we say cinema music is part of our culture. So goes with the law scenes and the courtroom scenes as well. That's part of our culture. That's what we believe happens.
Order and milord are
milord, order, ye nahi ho sakta, and your arms have to be flailing. That's the dramatics with which you believe that's the way it rolls out. So it was interesting for us to address Sanjay's stylized cinema, and yet our immense faith in realism, because I mean, we're talking about, you know, Irfan, Shabana ji, us, Atul, all of us, the way we think, the way we want to keep it true and realistic, and all about really, you know, sinking your teeth into what the moment is all about, and finding that balance. So I think the way Sanjay chose for it to roll out is we all had to play out, it was exhausting, play out every scene completely like theatre. So we all were, but then we were going through the entire scene, so a lot of dialogue during a day. You had to say everything all through the day several times, and he would just shoot it from different angles constantly and say, I'll edit it randomly. So there could be just a line here, a line there to keep the pace. And to not have unnecessarily dramatics in investing in stretching a moment. So keep it pacey, but for that it was hard work for us, because we had to just actually enact the whole scene so many times. Each time we were addressing different
You know, hold that thought. This is why when she's saying that she doesn't know how the film actually turned out, which is the truth. There's a guy I want to talk about, Irfan Khan, who's really grown. So I met him 10 years ago, and he was just chilling. He was doing a show for a rival channel at that point of time, and just relaxing. Aise chal raha hai, sab chal raha hai. Things have just happened to him, you know. You were the trendsetter, by the way. You went, touched Hollywood shores, and the world was gaga over you also. He's gone, touched Hollywood shores, and come back, and now he flits back and forth. He's developed a sense of humor, which probably he already had. It's just that now he talks so much about it.
Sharing it.
Yeah.
He's sharing it.
Irfan Khan, have you watched a lot of cinema? Have you had the time in the last 4 or 5 years?
Not enough, but Irfan, yes, I've seen his work, and my God, I mean, he's such a pleasure to work with. We smiled during the making of Jazbaa, because you know, he was also very, very generous with kind words, and I just had to say, I said, listen, all that set aside, you're a bad habit, man. I mean, really, really looking forward to a lot more opportunities to work with him because he's such a fine artist.
Yeah. I think he's getting credit with the kind of cinema that is being made now.
No, always. I mean, yeah, it's just an interesting time in cinema for all artists, technicians, the
Correct.
works.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's great in itself. But I'm sure with the more audience that would have discovered his work whenever, I mean, even in the past, you've always appreciated his style because it's so restrained and yet so impactful and yet so easy.
Yeah.
It's effortless, and that translates, you know. And you know, on paper when I saw the script and just the way his lines were written, it had to be him. So when he immediately came on board, Gupta and me were like, Gupta and me first, this is the cast that we saw. We saw Irfan, we saw Shabana ji, we saw Atul. He mentioned Chandan and I said, really cool. Jaguda came on board. So, I mean, when you see the cast on paper and they come together in reality, it just makes work so much more fun on sets every day. And with Irfan, I feel he was just naturally fits into this part, but probably into every part that he does.
I was just going to say that, actually.
That's his cool quotient.
Yeah,
you know, the natural ease with which he just like literally smooth. He's smooth. He just like slides in, and you just say, my God, this part was kind of written for you, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think that's just the highest compliment I think he as an artist has deservedly earned, and he brings to the medium.
Like I said, we're all in awe of her, and that's why everyone is putting up their best behavior. Before we leave, how do you look like this? Have you stopped eating? I mean, or what do you eat? Do you have like 7 meals in a day that are chosen by that person?
7 meals possibly,
Or
but
12?
No, listen. I've always been a foodie.
Listen, has to make it. You try and make it look a little difficult. I'll tell you something. Prestige was this movie where there's a line in the film that he says, "This magic is too real. Just dress it up a bit so you know it doesn't shock the audience." So don't make it look so real. Just tell me it was a little difficult.
I dressed it up real well post motherhood. Didn't you see reality in its full glory? So I've always been one with a good appetite.
Yeah.
And then, you know, active life really. I mean, I really wish I had a fitness regime to honestly. I'm honest, and you know it. I really wish I had that because if I did, I would be super fit. I'm nowhere close to that, but I'm thankful that I've been very, very active. So something melted off. Yeah.
Yeah, and she looks like this. Thank you so much for joining me.
Hey, pleasure.
And on
Thanks too.
This has been quite a pleasure, you know. And for all the fan clubs that have been waiting there, like I said, you know, we'll put a photograph up, and then you can talk to me. And when I meet her the next time, I will tell her all that you said. Till the next time, bye bye.
I'll join you soon. Thanks.